Alright, I'm the pop culture alcoholic and I am suffering from a media hangover. Well, I'm feeling pretty moronically ballsy again today. I think I'll attack a movie about as essential to pop culture as morphine is to my morning routine. The relatively recently released movie Birdemic has become a cult hit of awfulness amongst the movie viewing public. It is a superbly atrocious movie with acting and writing that makes even The Room look like Shakespeare comparatively. It's awful and you must promise me you will see it before you die. Fortunately, that is not the movie that we're here to talk about today. Because you see, after watching so many critics attack this movie for having a plot that made no sense and non-existent characters and being really slow and boring and so on, I thought it naturally made sense to turn to the movie that Birdemic was so obviously attempting to pay homage to. That obviously being Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
Oh, well, everybody's heard about the bird.
For those of you somehow impossibly out of the know, Alfred Hitchcock was the genius director behind such timelessly entertaining and grippingly riveting movies as Psycho, Rear Window, North by Northwest, Strangers on a Train and Vertigo, to name but a few. He has made more iconic movies than Adam Sandler has atrocious comedies. I know, obvious reference, but I thought that thought might act as a nice little reminder that perhaps there will always be a certain equilibrium in the world. When thinking of Hitchcock and his work, there are a few particular movies everyone's mind jumps to. For many, that movie might be Psycho, with Hitchcock's beautiful use of symbolism and dramatic twists that fathered every movie plot twist since then. For others, it's North by Northwest and Hitchcock's astounding use of plot full of twists and turns carried through by charmingly witty and cutting characters. But for so many others, it has got to be The Birds. This movie can be seen to be referenced left and right and is often cited by actual ornithophobia as the movie that birthed their crippling conditions. And since this movie is so well loved and made by such a famously fantastic film director, and Birdemic got such a load of hate for presenting us with such an awful representation of the original film, one could only conclude that this movie is going to be like North by Northwest, Rear Window and Chicken Run all rolled into one. Only one way to find out. Let's dive in. So as the movie begins, we start out with obligatory Hitchcock character number 1, mysterious spunky blonde woman whose hobbies involve falling in love with men in sharp suits and appearing in soft focus. This is Melanie Daniels, played by Tippi Hedren, and she's come to her local aviary shop to buy some minor birds.
I was hoping you'd be a little late. You see, he hasn't arrived yet.
Oh, but you said 3 o'clock.
Oh, I know. I've been calling all morning. I guess maybe I'd better phone. They said 3 o'clock. Maybe it's the traffic. I'll call. Would you mind waiting?
Well, maybe you'd better deliver him.
Ah, the past. A time when, if you were rich and entitled enough, you could order anything to be delivered directly to your door, no matter whether or not there was actually a delivery service offered in the first place. I mean, fuck waiting around for 5 minutes! I've got ostentatious lazing to be doing, woman! And just in time, here comes that obligatory Hitchcock character number 2, Cary Grant / James Stewart type fellow in a sharp suit. And because Hitchcock was having a lazy day, he is of course the immediately obvious love interest.
I wonder if you could help me.
What?
I said I wonder if you could help me.
Yes, what is it you're looking for, sir?
So since Tippi Hedren's character is so delightfully privileged and has absolutely nothing better to do with her time, she decides to dick around with the swanky chappy here for no decent reason.
Do you happen to have a pair of birds that are this friendly?
Oh, I think so. Now then, let me see.
By the way, don't you just love this backing score? It's about as pleasing to the ear as the time that I listened to Patti Smith wailing down a microphone whilst being backed by 2 chainsaws making love.
All right, may I see it, please?
Oh Jesus, what the devil is going on? What kind of pestilential monster would wreak such havoc on my store? I curse the day that such a witch was ever born, and God help any audience member who was forced to have her as the main protagonist in a film they are watching. Ah, suffocated. This man's work here is done. So once all that bird-related madness is done with, and by God, let's hope we don't get any more of that in this film. Although, having said that, I do get a strange feeling that we're not actually going to need to worry about that for a while yet. We find out that the dicker is actually the dicky, as Swanky here knew who Melanie was all along, as they met in court a while back after Melanie was accused of jumping into a fountain naked in Rome. You see, this information does actually begin to seem like the setup for some interesting characters, but let me just cool your jets now and let you know that even though these events will be referenced back to later on in the dialogue, none of it bears any real relevance to the plot whatsoever in the long run. So after Swanky leaves, Melanie decides that she must have some attraction to him now for some unknown reason, and so decides to track him down using his license plate number.
They said the minor bird would be here later this afternoon if you care to come back.
No, you'd better send him. May I use this phone?
Why, certainly.
Just so you know, I'm calling Japan right now. Hope you're okay with that. Actually, I don't care. So after taking some time to paint herself out to be even more of a rich, entitled arsehole, Melanie acquires some lovebirds and decides to take them over to Swanky's house as a surprise. It turns out he's not home, but fortunately a friendly neighbour is there to tell Melanie where he went. A little too friendly, if you ask me.
Miss, is that for Mitch Brenner?
Yes.
He's not home.
Oh, that's all right.
He won't be back until Monday. I mean, if those birds are for him.
Where did he go?
Bodega Bay. He goes there every weekend.
Where's that?
Up the coast about 60 miles north of here. It's an hour and a half by freeway or 2 hours if you take the coast highway.
Oh.
Jesus Christ, why does creepy Captain Peacock know so much? How many stalkers does this guy have? Yes, I'm actually heading that way myself. Mitch is taking his daily walk up there at 3, and I wouldn't miss the chance to sniff his hair from the bushes for the world, you know. You and I should carpool there. That would be fun. Although I should mention now, I will not be contributing money for gas. So Melanie, again with clearly nothing better to do with her time, decides to drive up to the bay where Mitch lives to deliver the lovebirds. And here we get to see Hitchcock cliché number 17, staring blankly into the face of the protagonist whilst they drive a car. And I don't actually mind this trope, really love it if anything. But what is the point of these scenes? What are we supposed to be seeing her emote about? The generic fishing village she arrived in? So having arrived at the seaside town, Melanie stops at a store to find out where to deliver the lovebirds she has brought to.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wonder if you could help me.
Well, try my best.
I'm looking for a man named Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer.
Yeah,
Do you know him?
yeah.
Where does he live?
Right here, Bodega Bay.
Oh, yes, I know, but where?
Right across the bay there.
Where?
Now, see where I'm pointing?
Yes?
See them two big trees across there?
You mean on the other side of the bay? Yes.
And the White House?
Yes.
That's where the Brenners live.
God, could the riveting asking for directions scene not have been cut a little bit for time? No, don't rush walking around that desk. We have fucking movie to burn.
How do I get down there?
Well, you follow the road around the bay, and that'll take you right to their front door.
The front door. Is there a back road I can take?
No, that's the only road.
You see, I want to surprise them.
Oh,
I don't want them to see me arrive.
oh.
Jesus Christ! Skip.
I wonder if you could tell me
Hey, just hold it a minute, please.
the little girl's name.
Little Brenner girl?
Yes.
Alice, I think. Harry, what's the little Brenner girl's name?
Lois?
Alice, ain't it?
No, it's Lois.
It's Alice.
Why, you sure?
Well, I'm not positive if that's what you mean.
Well, I need her exact name, you see.
Oh,
Oh my God! Will she ever find out what the Brenner girl's name is? The tension is killing me!
in that case, I'll tell you what you do. You go straight through town till you see a little hotel on your left. Then you turn right there. Now, you got that?
Yes?
Near the top of the hill, you'll see the school, and just beyond a little house with a red mailbox. That's where Annie Hayworth, the school teacher, lives. You ask her about the little Brenner girl.
Oh great, we have a whole other scene still to come in which to hopefully resolve the heart-stopping dilemma of what the fucking Brenner girl's name is. I mean, we are 15 minutes into this Hitchcock movie and absolutely nothing of any interest has happened whatsoever. I mean, Let's have a look at what's going on right now in a better Hitchcock movie. Psycho. Small-time banker Marion Crane fears she's bitten off more than she can chew. When on a spur-of-the-moment decision, she steals money from her office in order to help finance a life she dreams of with her adulterous boyfriend. Having almost been noticed by her own boss whilst fleeing the city, she now has a run-in with Johnny Law. How much could the officer know? How soon will she be found out? And to what dark places could this impulsive decision lead her yet? What about in another one? North by Northwest, Roger Thornhill, a witty but unassuming advertising executive, is involved in a case of mistaken identity when he is picked up by some thugs and interrogated for answers to questions he doesn't know the answer to. He is force-fed liquor and put behind the wheel of a speeding car, barely conscious. With his life flashing before his eyes, Roger has barely begun to understand the madness of the world into which he has been press-ganged, or why any of this is happening to him. Will he survive to get to the bottom of the mystery? But wait till I get going! Strangers on a train. Man's life stands on the precipice of disaster after a throwaway conversation on a train with a madman. Rear Window. Housebound photographer left with time on his hands is already beginning to discover the fascinating lives hidden behind cosy middle-class trivialities. Rebecca, new wife of a widower, finds herself in a house full of fear and secrets that will end up leading her to fear for her life and that of her loves. And what does this movie have to offer us?
You see, I want to surprise them.
Oh?
I don't want them to see me arrive.
Oh.
All right, Jerry, when you're right, you're right. Now I'm hooked.
Jesus Christ. Oh, Dark Lord of Booze, please give me strength to get me through this Argos waiting area experience of a movie. So Melanie pays a visit to the Brenner girls' school teacher and they talk about nothing for a bit.
Oh, I'm sorry, Smoke?
Thank you.
I'll have 5, thanks.
Did you want to see Kathy about something?
Well, not exactly.
Oh. Are you a friend of Mitch's?
Phew, we nearly ran the risk of passing the Bechdel test for a minute there. And eventually Melanie decides to leave.
Well, I'd better be on my way.
Well, I've had a whole 10th of this free cigarette. Down to the floor with you, you cheap-ass Jack Player special. So Melanie decides to head down to pick up her rented boat, where I can only assume we watch in painstaking detail while she fills out the boat renting application form, only to realise that she didn't bring the right amount of cash to rent the boat, and so must head over to an ATM. But then after spending 10 minutes walking around the town trying to find an ATM, obviously talking to yet more random people who have absolutely nothing constructed to offer the plot whatsoever, she finds that the ATM that she was going to use was closed, and so she must go to the bank, and then the tension really peaks when she finds that the bank manager's pen has run out of ink and the nearest W.H. Smith is a whole 2 blocks away. No, fortunately it seems even Hitchcock has his limits, as all we get is a lengthy shot of Tippi Hedren walking down a dock for almost no reason whatsoever. I mean, just what is the point of so many of these shots? What's with the shot of the boat salesman staring after her when she leaves? What purpose does it serve? I mean, is something meant to be implied there? Are we supposed to be reading into what this boatman is thinking? There goes one of God's own prototypes. Too rude to live, too rich to die. So, at the 20-minute mark... Seriously, I hate watching the clock whilst watching a movie, but I think that this is actually the furthest that any movie with over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes has ever gone without doing anything of any interest whatsoever. Melanie arrives at the Brenner household and decides, after spying on the family leaving the main house, to go ahead and break and enter so she can drop off the lovebirds. Well, I might help myself to some of this silverware whilst I'm here. Why not? They're clearly too poor to appreciate good silverware. Melanie then makes off in her boat, just in time for Swanky to get home. I say, that filthy bitch broke into my house! Where's my sniper rifle? I'm going to give her the old Fredo treatment. We see Swanky get into his car and chase Melanie from one side of the blue screen to the other, presumably with the 5-0 hot on his tail. And here's where finally our first taste of aviary action occurs. I'm sorry, her hair looked like delicious English chips. It's a disease for our kind.
You all right?
Yes, I think so. What do you suppose made it do that?
That's the damnedest thing I ever saw. I don't know, it seemed to swoop down at you deliberately.
So, Melanie and Swanky adjourn to a nearby public house. No, if only. Swanky sits Melanie down so he can treat her wounds.
What happened? Oh, dear. Young lady cut herself. Shall I call a doctor? Oh, I don't think it's that serious. Let's see. Helen, get some cotton and antiseptic.
Ah, yes, this should help to take the pain away. There we go. Oh, hello. So after some boring and completely pointless conversation that hardly distracts me from the unbelievable number of bottles of rosé they have in that bar, things really liven up when Swanky's mother arrives. Oh no, it's my future self! Don't let them touch! They exchange some stilted words and Melanie is invited to Swanky's house for dinner. She swings by the schoolteacher's house and asks for a room for the night, in a separate bed unfortunately, before heading over to the Brenners to meet Swanky's lovely sister Swanketta. And what an actress they got in for this role.
They're just what I wanted. Oh, Mom, please. I know all that democracy jazz. They're still hoods.
God, I'm starting to miss the every day without sex is a day wasted guy.
Oh, Mom, please. I know all that democracy jazz.
Yeah, Mama, chill. Play it cool. Why don't you slip on over to the kitchen over there and prepare little Miss Leggy here and me a couple of gin and juices. So Melanie goes into the house and the family has dinner. And thank God we get a few truckloads more pointlessly boring and boringly pointless dialogue.
I didn't interrupt your dinner, did I?
Thank you, I love one.
Fred, that feed you sold me is no good. The chicken feed.
I still don't understand how you knew I wanted lovebirds.
Your brother told me.
Then you knew Mitch in San Francisco. She's a charming girl, isn't she, Mitch?
Yes.
Certainly pretty. How long have you known her? In a bird shop.
Oh God, they're still going. What the fuck are they even talking about at this point?
He has a client now who shot his wife in the head 6 times. 6 times! Can you imagine it? I mean, even twice would be overdoing it. Don't you think?
Why did he shoot her?
He was watching a ball game on television.
What?
His wife changed the channel.
Spousal murder is hilarious. I mean, I wouldn't mind any of this dialogue so much if anybody there was even remotely likeable, but they're not, so what are we doing? So finally Melanie leaves and heads over to the teacher's house. Yes, you birds just sit up there. I'm perfectly happy to wait. In fact, I hope not a single bird attack occurs in the entire movie. I just want more scenes of Tippi Hedren driving places and talking inconsequential bollocks to characters that I don't even care about in the first place. Let's just have that. Let's just have more of that. I can happily fucking OD on that. Or indeed on anything at this point, so long as everything ends. Jesus, got a bit dark for a second. Oh, Christ. Oh my God. It's okay, just be calm, just be patient. Maybe something will be happening in the next scene of some interest. Just be calm, calm and watch, okay. Next scene.
Something wrong? Was that cut beginning to bother you?
No, it's not the cut that's bothering me.
Oh, God, come on, Jazz!
Would you like some brandy?
If you have some, I'd love it.
You're not the fucking only one.
Gets a bit chilly here at night sometimes, especially if you're over near the bay. Well, how did your evening go? Did you meet Lydia?
So they talk about Mitch some more. At this point in the movie, I start to notice that they seem to be weaving this subplot about the teacher being jealous of Melanie. But does this actually come to anything? Are great directors invulnerable to making bad movies? The answer, it seems, is definitely fucking not.
That's pretty.
Might look better crumpled up in the corner of my bedroom. Swear to God, my last one. So right when you're starting to wonder if the title of this movie was some kind of Reservoir Dogs-esque reference to nothing to do with the actual film you're watching, finally another bird turns up.
Oh, wonder who that can be. Someone there? Who is it?
Look.
Hello, my name is Elder Gull, and I have come to talk to you about the Book of Christ. So the next day, it's Swanketta's birthday party, and after yet further conversations between Melanie and Mitch that come to nothing whatsoever, yes, at last the birds are wreaking their havoc. Tremble, puny humans, as the inexorable gargantuan army that long sailed overhead, invisibly merciful, finally allows temptation to overthrow them. Watch the skies blacken as the clouds of anger and fear blot out the sun and bare their razor-sharp talons. Truly our final judgment has come! So what's the body count?
Well, Jenny got a scratch down her cheek, but it's nothing.
Okay, great. So at the moment, our terrifying titular birds are about on a par with walking through a particularly prickly bush. That night, Melanie stays at Swanky's for dinner again. And here's where we get what legitimately adds up to a pretty damn scary moment in the film.
Just listen to those lovebirds. Mitch.
Boom! 1 minute no birds, the next a fucking cloud of them dumps itself in your living room. It's so unexpected and doesn't at all rely on any long drawn out build up. I sincerely think it's quite brilliant, like some demonic aviary version of the letter scene from Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So in the confusion, Mitch goes about defending the household, though his methods are interesting. Ah, good. Now the pelicans can get in too. Oh no, this is so moderately annoying. Jesus, Mitch is doing more damage to the place than the birds are at this point. So eventually the birds apparently just sort of leave, and Officer Incompetent is called in to look over the scene.
Do you have a light burning or something? Well, yes, but there wouldn't have been that much light going up the chimney. Because sometimes birds are attracted by light, you know.
Yeah, looks like you must have provoked them. You brought it upon yourselves, frankly. I mean, then again, that is what I tell every murder victim.
Tell him about the party.
That's right. We had a party here this afternoon for Kathy for her birthday. In the
How
middle
old
of
is she?
11. In the middle of the party, some seagulls came down at the children. Miss Daniels was attacked by a gull only yesterday.
Yeah. Were the kids bothering the birds or something? Because if you make any kind of a disturbance near them, they just come after you.
God, this guy is just like the poster boy for victim blaming.
Well, anything else I can do, Mitch?
No, thanks, Al. We'll be right.
Good night, Lydia.
Well, see you, Mitch. Hope they don't poop you all over my car tomorrow morning. So after dropping Swanketta off at school, Swanky's mum goes to visit a farmer friend of hers. God, I guess she just subscribed to the wait 5 seconds and trespass rule. She finds the place is all smashed up, but just when it looks like she may have walked in on some terrible sex act gone wrong. Ah, I tried to do the same thing after I saw what we did on our holiday. Wow, those zombie guys really went back on their promise not to be unreasonable and not to eat our eyes. Mama Swanky rushes home to tell Swanky and Melanie everything. Still, now that they've seen something like that, surely they're going to be, boarding up the windows, fortifying the house, preparing for the bird apocalypse?
I was just taking your mother in some tea.
Oh, tea! Of course, tea is the answer. Tea will solve everything. God, movie, why are you so reluctant to have anything actually happen? So Melanie takes the tea through to Mama Swanky, and they have a nice pointless conversation where they pretend nothing interesting has happened whatsoever. Then again, I doubt that takes a huge amount of effort.
Do you think Kathy's all right at the school?
Yes, I'm sure she's fine.
What? You haven't gone to get the little sister from school yet? There's been a fucking murder. Even if you don't believe that it's the birds that have done it, you should still have her back at the house by now. I mean, do you just want her to be Millet?
I wish I was stronger.
So that I could pick up some boards and nail them over the fucking windows because I seem to be the only person in the house with the mental wherewithal to do it?
But, you see,
I don't want to be left alone. I don't think I can bear to be left alone. Oh, forgive me. Forgive me. This business with the birds has upset me. I don't know what I'd do if Mitch weren't here.
So Melanie finally decides to grow a brain cell and go pick up Swanketta from the school. A convertible, of course! Best to keep the top down too, considering the situation. Might I suggest some kind of Wile E. Coyote-esque neon sign indicating bird food here to go with your sporty vehicle? Melanie arrives and finds the children hard at work in the middle of singing some 5-year-long nonsense song. And so she decides it'd be a shame to interrupt such crucial educational advancements. I suppose the best answer instead is to go have a sit down outside and, hell, we have time, might as well light up. Never mind the horrifying impending disaster, keep singing, children! It's what Bush would do. Anyway, guess who turns up? Melanie, upon seeing the birds, finally decides that this might be a good reason to alert the class to their impending danger. You know, I read somewhere that the filmmakers actually had to give the birds booze so that they would sit still through scenes like this. You know, I think me and the birds have something in common. Actually, now that I think of it, it's no wonder that this shit happened. I was in the middle of a fucking aviary zoo, and someone was giving booze to these goddamn things. It wouldn't be long now till they tear us to shreds. So Melanie enters the school.
We are not going into the playground until everybody has quieted down.
Well, I could scream, no, shut that fucking door for the sake of these children's lives, something like that. But perhaps walking slowly over to the door and then asking for it to be closed rather than doing it myself would be the best idea for everyone.
We've got to get the children out of here.
Jesus Christ, you're actually suggesting that you take these kids outside, aren't you?
All right, children, now quiet. Quiet. Miss Daniels would like to see how we conduct ourselves during a fire drill.
Okay, children, let's all get ready to go outside. Now remember, none of you wear your hats lest you stifle your ripe, scratchable skulls. Yes, that's good. Johnny! Is that a rudimentary stake-like implement you fashioned to fight off any potential attacking animals? Give it here. Give it here. Give it here. Okay, you can have this back at the end of the day. If you survive, that is.
I would like you to show her how quiet and obedient you can be. We're going out of school now.
Leave school? I, as a child aged 8 to 12, can't think of anything better to do with my time than sit in a classroom and chant out a nonsense for the next 6 hours. Actually, what is with the age range in this class? I'm guessing Kathy can't be too bright since she's clearly been held back about 4 grades, along with half the rest of the class. So anyway, yeah, Melanie and the teacher walk all the small children out of the front of the building. Oh yeah, shit. Maybe this was a horrible mistake and I'm a terrible person? What was with that running sound effect too? What was Hitchcock up to off camera to make that sound effect? Oh, look at all the good Melanie has done Swanketta and her friends. Let us marvel at how much better off they all are for her coming. Look at all these lovely, innocent children. Oh, Melanie, you're like Moses leading the Jews to freedom. Guide on, you saviour. Hey, Sonny, is that a quarter I can see behind your ear? Nope, sorry, it was human flesh. Ah, yes, a car. Fuck all those other children, they don't need our help. Melanie and the kids waited out in the car and the birds dissipate. But then, upon returning to the Winchester, it seems at last the severity of the situation is just about starting to hit home with our lead characters.
No, I'm not hysterical. I'm trying to tell you this as calmly as I know how.
It's the end of the world. Thus saith the Lord God unto the mountains and the hills.
Well, now we might at last get something done. No more talk. It's time for action.
I hardly think that either species would have sufficient intelligence to launch a mass attack. Their brain pans are not big enough to be.
I just came from the school, madam. I don't know anything about their brain pans, but...
Well, I do. I do know. Ornithology happens to be my avocation.
Oh, Jesus, how long does this go on for? Oh, great, so now we get to spend the next 9 minutes of the movie listening to some autodidactic old crone smoking like a 70s snooker player and drivelling on about ornithology despite the fact that it doesn't bear any relevance to the plot whatsoever. Huzzah! Finally, the birds come back to put us out of our misery by attacking the town.
They're attacking again. Well, Melanie, you stay in here.
Oh god, now I imagine they're probably going to have some idiot nonchalantly lighting a cigarette and tossing the match onto the pool of petrol. No! What? One of the most famous and influential film directors of all time. The greatest director that England ever produced, and he went with that? Was the guy just completely oblivious to the huge bird attack happening all around him? I mean, I can't bring myself to believe that Alfred invented that cliche, but even if he did, it's still a massive crime against modern cinema, and it's still completely and utterly irrevocably ridiculous. Big down marker, Alf. Big, big down marker. And now, at last, we get the iconic bird attack scene. This is one of the two scenes everyone remembers from the movie and everyone references. This image can be seen smeared all over pop culture. But does it actually hold up? Let's see what happens. Okay, the main character's running out of the nice protective cafe for no reason and into a cramped claustrophobic little phone booth. Kind of illogical, but good, good. Hello, Japan! Is that you? Help me! Okay, she watches now as some mild destruction happens for a bit. Good. My cabbages! Okay, now her boyfriend comes and gets her out of the phone booth, only to bring her right back into the diner. What the hell was the point in all of that? Poignancy worthy of such an iconic status. So the pair head back into the bar. Always a line for the women's room, huh?
Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? They said when you got here the whole thing started. Who are you? What are you? Where did you come from? I think you're the cause of all this. I think you're evil.
You know, she may actually have a point. She's kind of done more to help the birds than the birds have at this point. In fact, you're one of them! I knew it. No, it looks like we're not getting any answers to why this is actually happening yet. Instead, Swanky and Melanie go to the teacher's house where they dropped off Swanketta earlier, and unfortunately they don't like what they find. Yeah, I slept like that when I couldn't find my keys after a night out once too. Yes, throw a stone at the birds. That sounds sensible. Perhaps after that you could go and poke an angry bear, or even run face first into a wasp's nest. Right, so finally the gang decides to head back to Swanky's house and board up the windows.
Mitch, I'm getting something on the radio.
Come on.
What Commissioner Nelson
The local stations. I think this is San Francisco.
San Francisco calling. Lots of people here are very gay, and that's fine. More at 11. Unfortunately, though, tensions are running high in the Swanky household.
Did you get the windows in the attic, Mitch?
Yes, I got them all here.
When do you think they'll come?
I don't know.
If there are bigger birds, Mitch, they'll get into the house.
Wood in there.
What happens when you run out of wood?
I don't know. We'll break up the furniture.
You don't know. You don't know. When will you know? When we're all dead. I got it.
Do you mind? I get enough squawking out there! So finally, after more nothing happens, night falls.
Mitch, can I bring the lovebirds in here?
Can you go get the... Yeah, sure. You go grab the lovebirds and I'll just nip out there and I'll just go grab a shotgun, yeah? And I'll bring the shotgun and you bring the birds and then I can put the barrel up to the bars of the cage and then I can blow the bastards back to the hell they spawn from!
Let's leave them in the kitchen, huh, honey?
So thankfully, before I slip into a coma, we get yet another bird attack on the house.
Hey buddy, spare some change? This is really great dough. You have to give us the recipe. Quick, get his watch. Is that Swiss? Sweet!
Ah yes, holding the door at the edges will certainly slow down their efforts to drill through the middle of it. Good job, Swanky. Okay, if he's gone to get a shotgun and to replace one of his hands with a chainsaw, this movie might just be salvageable. Finally, everything goes quiet. The bird attack is over. Hello. 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 The Bewildereds, tonight on CBS. So later that night, after everyone has fallen asleep, Melanie decides to go exploring around the house after hearing a noise in the attic. Okay, this is the other big iconic scene from the movie. This is the scene that everybody talks about when you bring up this film in conversation. The scene that made everybody scared of birds for the rest of their lives. This is the scene that turned every stray sparrow that got stuck inside somebody's house into the fucking reckoning of the complacent human existence. But what could it be? Melanie stalked her way up the stairs. What could be waiting for her behind that door? What horrors are to plague this woman who has already seen such atrocities this day? What mind-blowing new level of terror are we to discover? Well, if I had to take a wild guess, I'd probably say that it was predominantly taken up by something that begins with a B and ends with a fucking D. Oh, it's just more of this shit again. Lord and Saints preserve us, I am bored. And as if this incredibly drawn-out sequence couldn't get any more bewilderingly awkward, it actually starts to get sort of... sexual. God, I'm already awkwardly uncomfortable enough with this movie without getting any insight into what got Hitchcock's feathers ruffled. So Melanie is rescued by Swanky and brought back downstairs, now left catatonic, and the group decide to flee.
Mitch, see if you can get anything on the car radio.
So Mitch sneaks out to Melanie's car and for some reason the birds just let him go. No logic, no explanation, they just let him walk past unharmed for some reason. Who gives a shit? The movie's nearly over.
Public announcement. We would like to assure all our listeners that there is nothing to worry about. Everyone here is very happy with the birds. The birds are kind, benevolent leaders wanting only for grain and our loyalty. I'll raise a talent to our new bird overlords. Help me! I got a gun to my head there in the studio! Oh, God!
So Mitch gets the rest of the family out to the car, bringing the lovebirds with them for some insane reason, and they all get in and drive away from the house. And then... Wait, what? It's over? What the fuck, Hitchcock? Why did the birds attack? Why did they not at the end? Why should we give a damn about any of these characters if nothing of any real interest is going to happen to them? What happened, Hitchcock? I just don't know how I can believe this is a Hitchcock film. If it weren't for the incredibly recognisable style and the admittedly still very interesting cinematography, I would honestly refuse to believe Hitchcock had been anywhere near this movie. It doesn't really work in either of the two genres that it seems to be switching back and forth between. It doesn't really work as a horror since the villains are never seen to be a real threat to our protagonist, never leaving them with more than just a few cuts and scratches. And it doesn't work as a drama either, since all the dramatic character development in the beginning half of the film becomes completely irrelevant once the birds begin properly attacking. Watching this after watching Psycho, Rear Window and Hitchcock's many other masterpieces is like watching Jeepers Creepers right after the first two Godfather films. I go in expecting a cinematic masterpiece and all it seems that I get is some tale told by an idiot full of birds of flurry signifying nothing. This movie feels like a waste of my life in viewing it. I might as well watch an hour-and-a-half movie of people waiting at the bus stop for all that seems to actually happen in it. And yet this is one of Hitchcock's most beloved movies. On that basis, I would go and check it out yourself, as perhaps it's just a personal taste thing, but frankly, especially if you're a Hitchcock fan, if you can make it past the 30-minute mark without wanting to kick your TV in, then you're a better man than me. Then again, that's hardly saying much. I'm the pop culture alcoholic, and to all you people who were made terrified of birds for the rest of your life because of this movie, I offer you only these comforting words. Ha ha ha! PCA out, bitches!
My love, forgive me. I didn't mean to have it end like this. I didn't mean to have you